For the toes of my bear paw, I have cut 6.5-inch wide strips of the green and the beige. I have layered them on top of one another with good sides together. Now I'm going to take the special ruler I told you about. You have a 90-degree here and then the hypotenuse of the triangle there. What I want to do is put the 6th line. This ruler works in finished measurements. So I want to find the 6-inch line and line it up with the bottom of my strips. If you will notice, I don't know if you can see this or not, up at the top there's a little dashed line, and above that the ruler sticks out above the strips. That's supposed to happen. This is why you can use the same size strips for your toes, for your half square triangles, and as you do your block, and it will work. The first cut, we're going to cut off the edge and get rid of that, and then we want to cut along the hypotenuse. We have one set of the block ready, so we'll set that up there. Then you're going to rotate 180 degrees, put the 6th line at the top because we're dealing with a 6-inch finished block, and even up the hypotenuse. And you may have to go around the table to do this, but cut, and this will be number 2. So I have 2 sets. You rotate it 180 degrees again, put the 6 at the bottom and the right edge even, and cut. And you keep doing this down the strips until you get 16 sets, and we'll have enough for this quilt top. To begin making this quilt square, I want to start putting my half square triangles together, the toes of the bear. I need to get some of those together before I can assemble one of the paws. So I'm going to go ahead and chain stitch all of my half square triangles together and get all of these toes made, and then I can start assembling the paws. To get ready to sew these half square triangles together. Now, and these are rather large. I wanted to start you out doing this on a large pattern, but normally these might be 2-inch finished sizes. So as you get better with this, you can go smaller with your dimensions, and it makes for a busier, prettier quilt. But we want to get the blunt ends together. We've got good sides together. Put your blunt ends where you cut them off together. On one end, and we want to use our scant 1/4 inch, which will be there. And I always bring my sewing machine foot down. Oh, there it went. Come back here. You want to let your foot come down on it to hold it. And then I hold my threads out to the back. Let me bring it up first. If you will always bring your threads to the top and then hold them back out of the way, it will leave such a prettier finish to your quilt top. Now hold these threads out to the side, and I want a little bit of a tighter stitch here because I don't want the ends to come loose. I'm going to get started and then leave my needle down, even up the points of my block. We're not going to use pins. I don't like pins if I don't have to. Don't stretch it, but we want to make sure, take your fingernails and just kind of run those edges even. So almost to where you have it. Stop, go back, get it even again. Stop, get it even again. Ease down to the finish line. We've got one done. We're going to pick up the next one. Get your blunt edges together. Now make sure you don't sew the side that's the 45 degree there. The 90 degree. We don't want to sew these 2 seams. We want this long diagonal seam. We're going to just pick the foot up. Start the next one. When you get going good, go down to the tails. Get them even. Make sure they're even on the right edge. And sew them together. And you're not pulling on them, but you're just keeping them even as it pulls it through the machine. And we have 16 of these to do, so I'll get busy and finish these up. When you get ready to iron the triangles, you want to take them and set the seam. Give it a little steam, open it, and press it lightly. You do not want to stretch these. These are bias seams. So we want to open it, press it lightly, try not to stretch it. We'll go to the next one, set the seam, open it, press it open. You don't have to have a huge ironing board. You can do this in a small space if you need to. Now I'm going to go measure these and make sure they're the right size before I go further. I have the pieces of the bear paw in position. As I said before, I'm going to sew these two together at this seam right here. Then I will sew these three together. I'll do this seam and then add this one. Then I'm going to sew this one to this one, pressing that seam toward the large block. Then I will take this unit and sew it onto this unit, and this one I will press toward the large block also. We want to be able to see the back of that angled stitch when we add these on later. If you will make sure when you go through your seams that there will be a place where the V is, where the toe comes to a point, you need to go right into the stitch just below that V, and I will show you in a moment where that is, and it makes your toe stay pointed. So we'll get busy sewing. When you get ready to sew these two together, I'm going to sew on this side right here. When I do, you're going to have an angle here and an angled piece at the bottom, a two-colored piece where it has a seam there. You can start at either end, but make sure the actual edges are together and the top is together. We want to get them under there, set the presser foot down, hold the threads to the side, take a few stitches, and then leave your needle down and run down here to the other end and get it even at the other end, and make sure it's even on the edge along the way. And we're going to sew down this seam. Keep your presser foot where it needs to be for your scant 1/4 inch. As you get close to the bottom, use your stiletto. I use a seam ripper or a stiletto. And make sure it goes under there evenly. This is the first part of our barefoot. We have these two toes together. So we'll get busy and finish this one. I'm doing the other set of toes now. I want to get it even at the top, even at the side, at the right edge here. Make sure the right edge and the top are even before you get started. Take a couple of stitches, leave your needle down, go to the other end, make sure it's even down there, and then make sure this edge right here on the inside is even. As it gets close to the end, put the stiletto in so nothing can slip. Ease off of that end, and we have the other two toes together. So now we're ready to put that corner piece